Coming up today on That LTD Life, I'm going to be trying out Focus Keyword Finder, a new SEO tool that just hit AppSumo as a lifetime deal. Focus Keyword Finder helps you generate content based on keywords that you provide. I'm going to show you all of the features in this video, tell you what I like and what I dislike, so you can decide if it's a good fit for your business. My name is Dave, by the way, and I do this sort of thing all the time. I review lifetime deals Monday through Friday. We are back on a full-time schedule, so if you like this sort of thing, hit the like button on the video and get subscribed so you don't miss a single LTD review. Now, you should know that this video is sponsored by AppSumo. I do appreciate their continued support of the channel, but they don't have any impact on what I say about this product. Focus Keyword Finder themselves don't even know that I'm making the video. All right, let's get into it. Let's try out Focus Keyword Finder. You can see the deal page over here on AppSumo. We'll visit this at the end of the video and talk about the different plans and pricing. For context, I'm using their $59 tier 1 plan to make this video. All right, so here is what Focus Keyword Finder looks like. Everything is organized into projects, which are essentially just folders where we can create documents. So I'm going to create a project right now. I'll just hit the Create Project button, and you can see there's a little 6-step form here that I need to fill out. So first, I need to enter in a keyword, and that's going to be the main keyword for the project. Think about it this way. If you were to write an article that's going to be, SEO based, you want to rank for it, what would be the primary keyword that you're trying to rank for? That's what you want to enter in right here. This is also where I might give Focus Keyword Finder its first suggestion. A way that it could improve is to have a step prior to this to help me come up with those keyword ideas so that I'm not just kind of, shooting in the dark here. I'd like to do some research before I plan out what my project is about, but we'll get into more of that a little bit later on. This is one of my oldest clients' websites. We built this site for them back in about 2018 or so, and honestly, it's barely been updated since then. They've been happy with the results. Everything's been doing well, driving lots of traffic for them. So we're going to go ahead and use this website as maybe a topic where we want to add a new blog post using Focus Keyword Finder. So I'm going to go ahead and use the keyword 4D ultrasounds. You can see they do those kind of, entertainment-based ultrasounds so you can get a sneak peek at what your baby might look like when mom is pregnant. So let's go back over to Focus Keyword Finder. The main keyword I'm going to use here is 4D ultrasound. Now you can see here as I typed in 4D ultrasound, it went ahead and named the project 4D ultrasound as well. And I'm fine with that, but you can rename this to be something more specific. Or if you just want to, change the capitalization, you can definitely do that. Maybe I'd give it the name of the client, like Enlightened 4D Imaging, which is the name of the company. I just showed you their website. And if you're in the Minneapolis area, I definitely recommend checking them out for your 4D ultrasounds. But you don't have to do this. You can just leave it as is. It's really not that big of a deal, as you'll see in a minute as we actually create the article. All right, the next step is very critical, and actually where I think Focus Keyword Finder is going to be most useful is that you can make this a very local search. Like if I wanted to do just the Twin Cities areas, I could type in Minneapolis, and then the search is a little bit wonky. You kind of type and then wait, but eventually it will populate with some different locations here. So I do maybe Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities area here, and then it's going to do a Google search just inside of that area. So I'm going to leave it just like this, and then the language I'll leave as English, and I can also categorize this if I wanted to, but for now, that's entirely optional. It's just if you have a lot of projects going on and you want to kind of group things together, it might make sense to, have the name of the project be your keyword, but then categorize them based on clients. That could make a lot of sense, but it's going to be a case-by-case basis depending on the clients that you work with. So I'll just leave this uncategorized, and then the number of Google results that we're going to crawl, that will impact the keywords that we gather. So the default setting is 10 results. If you find that you're not getting enough, you can bump this up to 20 results or even more, but you will be using more credits the more results that you scrape. We get a decent amount of credits. You can see here I've got about 1,990 credits left on my tier 1 plan. So there's definitely no shortage of credits available. I'm going to make this, let's do 30 results here. So we get a lot of different options to choose from. All right, let's go ahead and create this project. And now what it's doing is taking what it calls a SERP snapshot. So SERP being search engine results page. It's going to go through the top 30 results and capture all of the data that it can about those results, those top 30 pages. And you can see here that our client is actually ranking number one. And not only here, but we've also got the number 8 position as well. So their services page, as well as their homepage, is already ranking very, very highly. But it's going to go ahead and just crawl the rest of the pages, and we can see all of the results here as we scroll down. It does give us links to the competitor pages as well as their open graph image as we scroll through. So some of the competitors don't have an image, but most of them tend to use, one of their ultrasound photos. All right, this looks pretty good. Now, if I wanted to gather more results, like I wasn't happy with these results, I could go ahead and just crawl from the next 10 results right here. So if you just started out with a default 10 and you went, really that's not giving me enough information, you can just increase the amount right here. But I'm good with 30. In fact, that might have been too much, honestly. And we can move on to the next step, which is to choose our keywords. And while it's gathering the keywords, I do want to point out that my credits up here did go down by 30 when I did that search. So I do feel like the credit system is pretty fair. Like tier 1 lifetime deal, I'm going to be able to do a lot of work here inside of Keyword Finder. All right, here we go. We've got our results, and you're going to see that most of the keywords that we have are considered to be short tail keywords, meaning like 1, 2, maybe 3 words. And they're not going to show a ton of intention here. But remember that when we set up our project, that's actually the place to use our long tail keyword or our transactional keywords, whatever we're trying to optimize for. We want to do that at the beginning of the project, which is where you might just need a little bit of SEO knowledge going into Focus Keyword Finder. But once you have that, well, we can get a lot of data about what our competitors are doing. We can see how many keywords and headings and words and everything that they've got over here on the SERP pages. And then once we get into writing the keywords, well, we'll know basically how many times we need to mention each one of these keywords inside of our article. But I could see if you're trying to use this tool as a keyword research tool, which the name might lead you to think, you could end up being a little bit disappointed because it's like, time? I'm supposed to write an article that uses time in the title or something? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you need to preface the entire setup by having a long tail keyword or something that you're trying to optimize for that you want to rank for that client. Then you can find similar articles and it can use AI to actually generate the article for you, which is what we're going to do right now. The next tab over is content. I can do that either right here or over in the left-hand sidebar. We'll go into the content section. And now we've got our options to write our content. We can upload the content to WordPress. We can use AI to write it. We can use existing content. So enter the URL of a page you're interested in to use the content and then spruce it up so it can analyze it and you can improve it. Or you can just use it to create a structure and then maybe take it out to your favorite AI tool from there. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use AI to generate the entire article. And now it's going to give me some options for how the AI will actually generate the article. I can do a long article in 3 different flavors here with 4 images, 1 image, or no images. I could do a medium article with 3, 1, or no images, or I could do a short article with 2, 1, or no images. I think this information could be presented in a lot more pleasing way, maybe organizing it and say long article and then let you choose how many images, or medium size article and let you choose how many images, and then also define exactly what is a long article and what is a medium article, and perhaps what do they recommend to get the best results. So while this is not a terrible interface, it definitely leaves a little bit of room for improvement in terms of like just guiding the user to get some success. All right, so let's just go ahead and do the largest article with the most number of images here. You can see that it's using GPT-4o Mini with DALL-E 3. So not necessarily like the latest and greatest in terms of LLMs. Now you can bring in your own keys if you get AppSumo tier 2 and above. Now, I'm using tier 1, but if you wanted to bring in your own, you can go over here to where it says update integration. You toggle this on and you can use your own OpenAI key right there. However, using your own API key, I don't believe is going to let you choose the LLM that their software is going to use to generate the article. I think you're still stuck with GPT-4o Mini and DALL-E in this case. So it might be nice to get the later versions available. I'm not certain on any of that stuff, by the way. So if you have tried adding your own API key in and it actually lets you use the more modern LLMs like GPT 4.5 or something like that, or O3 or one of those, let me know in the comments if that actually works. All right, enough talk. Let's go ahead and choose high consumption here. I do want to point out how many credits I have to begin with. So before making the article, we've got 19,484 credits. Let's go ahead and create the article. So I've actually clicked into their editor here, but we can go right back in using AI, and I'll choose high consumption and right using the prompt. And now it's going to go ahead and just create the article for me. I don't need to touch anything. It does take a few moments for it to be created, but it will also be generating 4 images as well using Dolly, not the latest GPT image generation, which I think is much better. You're going to see the images here in a minute, and they'll be instantly recognizable as Dolly images. All right, here we go. We've got our article back, and here are the images that I was just talking about a moment ago. They do look very, very Dolly-esque, which to me, honestly, just looks a little bit dated at this point in time. But you can see the article is fairly long. It does have a word count here for us. The article is 2,852 words, although it predicted it only needed 1,550 in order to rank. So it maybe overdid the length a little bit here. By the way I got to these metrics is right over here. I find this to be not super intuitive. But once you learn it, it's not that big of a deal. When we start off creating our article, we are in the creation tools over here. So we can connect up to WordPress, although they didn't capitalize the P. If you're a WordPress fanatic, you know that that is a mortal sin and you must repent. They need to capitalize the P in WordPress here, but we can connect this up to WordPress. We can use AI to do our writing. It's all the same options we saw at the beginning, right? So we can use existing content, or we can just create a structure first. So those are the creation tools. We can also go to the scores. These are their SEO scores. So it's very relevant. Has a lot of keywords. The tags are good, meaning like the H1 tags, the HTML tags are all looking nice. It's dense enough. Well, actually, it gave kind of a medium score for density. It's not green. Then we've got enough correlation and enough usage of keywords that we should be able to rank pretty well using this article. Now, if I go to the last one, which is the default tools, it can show me the number of headings that I have, 24 when I only needed 5, and the number of words, which we've already covered. I do get a title as well as a description right down here. They might be a little bit long. I would like if the UI just allowed me to see the entire title and the entire description without having to scroll like this, because those are obviously very, very critical parts of ranking. Just to have a really great looking SERP results, you need to have optimized titles and descriptions. So I think that part could definitely be tweaked a little bit. And then it does suggest a URL, which I don't love. It's far, far too long. You can see it's probably about 10 keywords, and they're using words like the and of and in inside of the URL. So that is definitely not optimized. You could just run that through a very simple prompt to say, convert this into a SEO optimized URL, and it would do a better job, I'm certain. Otherwise, the editor is very simple and kind of just a plain normal editor that you can click in and get around. You can change text to be headings or paragraphs, whatever you like. Nothing too shocking here. We can add images and embed videos if we want. Bulleted lists, numbered lists, that stuff is all available. You can also switch over into HTML mode so you can actually see the code. That is cool. We can go back to rich text mode here. There is also the ability to hide this section to give you a little bit more writing room. And if you really want to focus on your content, we can even hide that right-hand sidebar. No full screen mode where you close off or minimize this sidebar, which would probably be a really nice thing to do. I know a lot of people who are actually still writing content still prefer to minimize distractions. So that might be one step further they could consider adding in. In terms of our SEO optimization, there is a checklist over to the right here with some suggestions for how you might improve the content. So you can see here they want me to use an H4, H5, and H6 heading. I don't want to do that, so I can just click them away, and all of a sudden now I've got a 100% score. We can go over to density, where we can see our keyword density, how many times each word was used, whether it's too high or too low. So maybe I want to add in contact here because the other high ranking articles were using that word. This is actually really valuable information. And if you're paying monthly for a service like Surfer SEO, it's going to cost a lot to get this type of info. So, well, it might be easy to write this off and be like, well, the images it generated aren't great. The information you're getting from it is still going to be pretty valuable if you're generating content for SEO, especially I think local SEO is really going to be helped with a tool like this. I know the current mindset of a lot of people is that just AI is taking over everything, but for a lot of local businesses, content marketing is still going to be very beneficial. And a tool like this can allow you to create a bunch of articles very quickly that are pretty decent quality and hit all of the right notes in terms of getting your clients ranked. All right, so that is keyword density. We also have long tail keywords over here. And the way this works is you click into a paragraph and it shows you the different long tail keywords from the niche that are visible right there. We've got our keywords and tags. So these are the keywords that show up in our URLs, our titles, our headings, and our meta description. And then finally, we've got our HTML tags over here, and you can just very quickly see the HTML tags and then the keywords that are inside of each one of those tags. Now that our article has been generated, let's just do a quick tally of our AI content credits. We are down to 18,967. So by my math, it used roughly like 500-ish credits to create that article. All right, when you're done with your content, you can download it right here. The options are keywords, long tails, headings, ranking, or the entire article. So if I chose the entire article, I could download it as HTML, Markdown, or DocX. Of course, if you're using WordPress, you can just link up your WordPress account and have it uploaded directly. It's probably what I would do if I were working on a lot of WordPress websites using this tool and maybe creating content in bulk. You just sync up all of the sites using their connection. That would get you the fastest results and allow you to minimize any sort of editing and formatting of uploaded articles. As soon as you put it into a docx file, it's going to be probably a little bit difficult to copy and paste into WordPress. But at this point, you're basically good to go. If you decide later on that you want to revisit this topic, you can simply go back into the SERP snapshot and then do an updated version of the search results. And hopefully your article shows up there. But if it does not, you'll get a list of what is currently ranking, and you can try to create a new article based on that keyword information. By the way, I mentioned creating projects in bulk, and that is a real feature right over here, but that is restricted to higher AppSumo tiers. So let's go ahead and check out the AppSumo deal page. All right, so here we go. Focus Keyword Finder, $59 at AppSumo for the plan I have been using, which gets me 2,000 credits per month, as well as 20,000 AI content generation credits. Now, you should know that that is one-time generation, so you will eventually need to connect up your OpenAI API key. Very, very important to know. We get 50 simultaneous projects, as well as 50 pages per project. Now, we do not get BYOK using Tier 1, so eventually this product will basically be disposable, right? So tier 1 will need to be upgraded to tier 2 so that we can bring our own key. That's a little disappointing, honestly. I wish it was just available for all the different tiers, but I guess they're trying to meet a certain price point here. And that feature I was just mentioning, bulk project creation, that is reserved for tier 3 and above. So at this point, you're paying $200, but you'll be able to create articles in bulk very, very quickly and serve a lot of clients at a low price point. So that is why it's restricted to the tier 3 range. They're thinking that you're basically reusing this tool to generate a profit at this point, which I highly recommend doing if you're going to utilize it. That's probably the best way to do it. You can make your $200 back rather quickly if you take good advantage of the features that are available. But otherwise, you can see that all of the other features are available on every single plan. They all get real-time content creation. They all get tables with keywords that rank. We all get a prompt gallery. So all of the features are available on all the plans. You're basically paying for usage, whether you want to get 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, or 20,000 crawl credits per month. Oh, wait, there's another plan, 50,000 crawl credits per month up on tier 5. And how many AI credit generations you want. And again, keeping in mind that this is a one-time thing. So if you want to go all out, you won't have to add in that API key for quite some time. The only other thing to take note of is if you are doing this as an agency, you might want to stick with tier 4 or tier 5 because that will put you in their agency plan, meaning that if they add new agency focused features, you'll get access to those where you might not if you're on tier 1, 2, or 3, as those are the standard, advanced, and professional tiers. Okay, time for my final thoughts on Focus Keyword Finder, as well as my final score. But first, I just want to say that I do have my AppSumo link down below in the description. So if you want to grab Focus Keyword Finder or any of the other great tools from AppSumo, definitely check out my link in the description. It is the best way to support my content. And thank you to everybody who has already done so. Just continue clicking. I think the link is good for about a week. So if you just click it every single time you make a purchase, that is the best way to know that your support is getting through. true. Onwards to my final thoughts here. Focus Keyword Finder. Overall, I find the utility here to be reasonably substantial, especially given the cost. I wish the $59 plan included the BYO key, the bring your own key, but if we set that aside and just say the price starts at $99, still not a terrible investment. However, I do think people might come into this tool and be a little bit disappointed based on the name of the product. Focus Keyword Finder. It really doesn't explain anything that this tool is good at because I look at that name and I think, oh, great, keyword research. Well, it does look at keywords inside of articles. It's not doing the step prior to that. And you got to put the cart before the horse and assume that people that are using this tool don't know a lot about SEO. So they're going to think like, well, what do I write about for my website? That is honestly the biggest question I get from clients is, what sort of content should I make? What should I talk about? And if they don't know that, well, Focus Keyword Finder is going to lose a lot of utility because the first thing it asks for is what is your main keyword? And you could see the blank stare and I don't really know what to type here. And then they might not come back to the tool. So it's really more of an AI content writer that utilizes AI and SEO to kind of merge those worlds together to help you rank, a lot like what Surfer SEO does. So yeah, I think there's a lot of utility here, but the name itself is gonna be a little bit confusing, especially to new users. Now, if you're an SEO expert and you're finding this video, you'll understand everything I'm saying and it won't be confusing at all. You probably have a slew of other tools you'll use already for that type of research, content planning. But if you're not, if you're starting your own local business or you're just trying to get your business to rank on Google, well, you'll need to do that research outside of this tool. The quality of the articles is fine, it's passable, but I really think there is some room for improvement here. Perhaps integrating with some other LLMs would allow them to create some more unique content, stuff that didn't feel quite so AI driven. Integrate with Claude, integrate with, any of the Llama models. There's just a lot of options that they could connect up, or even just newer OpenAI stuff could be a really, really great benefit to this existing workflow. Overall, when I'm looking at tools like this, I'm really just deciding whether or not I want to buy into their system, their organizational method for, in this example, creating content. Do I like the process of going through, entering a main keyword in, scraping the results, and then generating an article based on that? Yeah, it's actually a pretty good way to do things. I just wish they'd upgrade their LLMs or let me bring in my own keys from other providers so that I could always have the latest and greatest models to choose from. When it's all said and done, I'm going to give Focus Keyword Finder a 6.3 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, this is a good tool. It has a lot of utility, but they need to make sure that they're keeping up with the latest technology in order to stay competitive in this already very competitive niche. That's going to do it for this video. If you've got any questions, hit me up in the comments down below. Even just leave me a message for the algorithm. Very much appreciated. I will be back again tomorrow with another LTD review, and I'll see you there.